right, ladies and gents, 9.2 is called an ellipse. You know what an ellipse is? It's a smushed circle. All right, that's it. We're going to talk about the different parts of an ellipse, and we're going to talk about foci or focuses, however you want to say it. We're going to talk about major and minor axes and all that stuff, but it's really and truly identifying the center, which is your H and K, and you're going to find three variables, A, B, C, and you're going to plug it into the standard form equation. Now, I told you guys the other day, you will be allowed notes. It will do you no good to have out 35 pages of notes printed. You guys need to get the notes that you need, and that's all you have to have in front of you, or else you're going to get yourselves confused. So as we go through and we talk about ellipses, you guys see it says vertices, there's a major axis, the center, minor axis. What this means, ladies and gents, look. You have two kind of ellipses, just like we had two kind of parabolas, right? We had a positive and a negative parabola for up and down, and one for left and right. Same thing goes here when we have left and right. Well, not left and right, up and down, but you're going to have either a horizontal ellipse or a vertical one. A horizontal one looks like you took a circle and just smushed it from the top. It's wider on the x-axis. A vertical one looks like you took a circle and pulled it up. It's like skinnier. It's on the y-axis. And the way that you can tell that is you're going to have two different kinds of problems. You're either going to be given two pieces of information and say, figure all this stuff out, write the standard form, or they're going to give you an equation, then you got to figure all this stuff out. When I say all this stuff, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you're going to have vertices, you're going to have something called a focus. There'll be two of them, so it's foci. Like I said, major and minor axes, that's the thing. This is the equation of an ellipse, whether it be horizontal or vertical. This is the standard form. What do you notice that both of the equations are equal to? 1. Okay, that's important to remember. This is when your center is at 0, 0. If you guys remember when we talked about a circle, if your circle equation was x squared plus y squared equals 9, I said, you guys, well, what's the center? You would tell me it's 0, 0, because nothing's being added or subtracted to the x and the y. Same concept here. Same concept. It says the length of the major axis is 2 times a. All this means, if I tell you that the major axis, look at me, the major axis is 10 units long, right? And in the center, there's a center. So how big is it from the center to this side or the center to this side if the whole thing is 10? 5, right? So you're going to be talking about, they're going to say something about the major axis being 12. So if you had to figure out what the A value is, it's 12 divided by 2. You're just cutting it in half. That's it. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Here is the equation of an ellipse and all the stuff that goes with it. If the center is not at 0, 0, it just means it moves. Same concept as your circle. Same as the parabola. Do you see how it's x minus h, y minus k? So whatever is with the x, that's the x part of the center. Whatever's with the y, that's the y part of the center. Ms. Carver and I this morning put together this little ellipse cheat sheet. I think this is a good thing for you to print out or take a picture of and post next to your work. Right? Here is the standard form equation. You'll be able to tell which is from an equation, you'll be able to tell if it's horizontal or vertical. Whatever A is with. Do you see the denominator of A? You guys see in the two equations, you have horizontal and vertical. Do you see where A in a horizontal is under the X value? And in a vertical, A is under the B? The bigger number is your A. So if the bigger number is underneath the Y, then it's what kind of an ellipse? A is the bigger number. So if the bigger number is underneath the Y, is it a vertical or horizontal ellipse? Vertical. Yep. If the bigger denominator is under the X, what is it? Horizontal. There you go. It's good things to remember. So when we talk about finding the center and stuff like that, the first thing you're going to do if they give you two foci is plot them. You'll be able to tell if they're horizontal, if it's a horizontal ellipse or a vertical one. To find the center, what does it say to do to find the center? I wrote it down. Somebody read it. Take the midpoint of the foci. If you don't know midpoint formula, it's the middle. You add the x's, divide by 2. Add the y's, divide by 2. Then you identify your A, B, and C. We already talked about this in a second. If they give you the major axis length, your A is just the major length divided by what? Divided by what? 2. Okay. Your C is the distance from the center to the foci. You literally count. Literally. And then to find the B, you use that little formula. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. So this little cheat sheet will help you very much with our first example. I told you already the bigger denominator determines if it's horizontal or vertical. And all standard form equations are set equal to 1. That'll help you the next few formulas. So let's go to the first example. Find the standard form equation. All right, so it's either going to be a vertical or horizontal ellipse. Let's figure it out. First thing I'm going to do is they told me that I have 2 foci. And where are they? At 0, 1. Right? Okay, 0, 1. And then I have one at 4, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this a horizontal? When I draw it, is it horizontal? Is it wide? Or is it one on top of the other and it's tall? Horizontal. It's horizontal. This is a horizontal ellipse. If I could spell horizontal, it'd be awesome. So guys, look back at your cheat sheet. What is the standard form equation for a horizontal ellipse? X minus h quantity squared over a squared, right? Plus y minus k quantity squared. That looks really similar to our circle, right? Over b squared equals what number? 1. So what do I have to find in this equation? What are the 3 things I have to find in order to answer this question? I got to find the h and the k, which is the center, right? I got to find the a and the b. So look at your little cheat sheet. How do you find the center? Let's do that one first. What does it say to do to find the center? Midpoint, right? Yeah. Midpoint of what? Midpoint of foci. So the midpoint would be 0 plus 4 divided by 2, comma, 1 plus 1 divided by 2. Where is the center of this ellipse? At what?
2, 1.
Thank you, Bella. 2, comma 1. 0 plus 4 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. All right, now we have to find our A and our B. So look at your little cheat sheet. How do you find A? What does it say? It's the major length divided by 2. Okay, so what did they tell me the length of the major axis is? 6. 6 divided by 2. Help me out. 3. You guys are rock stars. Okay, so this is important. A is 3 is important. What's the other thing I need to find? We got to find B. Okay. Well, how do I find B? What does your cheat sheet say? You have to use what? C squared equals A squared minus B squared. All right. I already know that A is 3, correct? I'm trying to find B. Do I know what C is?
Yeah.
How?
6.
No, C's not 6. Look at your cheat sheet. How do you find C?
Distance from center to foci.
The distance from the center to the foci. So look, the center is right here. You guys told me at 2, 1, right? How far is it from that white line to either one of those little the white dot to either one of those little green ones? How many units? Not like. How many?
4.
Not 1.
2.
There's 2, right? You just count. It's the distance from the center to the focus. So it's 2. C is 2. You can write here C equals 2 if you want. So now let's solve for b. 4 equals 9 minus b squared, correct? Minus 9 from both sides. So negative 5 equals negative b squared. Divide both sides by negative 1. So you get b squared equals 5. So what's b? The square root of 5, right? So let's write down what we have. We have the center is at 2, 1. My a we found was 3. B is the square root of 5. And C, you guys told me was 2, because that's the distance, right? From the center to the foci. All right, so do I have now the information I need right here to plug it into this equation? Yeah. Write the standard form of this ellipse. Guys, it would be x minus, what's the h part of my center? 2 squared plus, what's the y part of, the k part of my ellipse, my center? 1. Good. Squared. Then this is over a squared. So what's a? 3 what?
3 squared.
Which is?
Oh, 9.
Yep. And then over b squared.
4.
B squared.
Oh, sorry. 5.
Just 5. Why is it just 5? Because when you square a square root, it goes away. So this is new because you guys haven't really talked about ellipses before, but you have found all of these other things. We found midpoint before. We found distance. You could have used a formula, but you can also just count. You guys know how to find the center. Now you can figure out, if I gave you an equation, which is what we're about to do now, you guys can identify all these parts. We all right? Yes?
Yeah, more right.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, graphing we are not going to do. This is what Mrs. Carver and I think about graphing with you guys at the end of the year, of senior year. Yes. All right, how is this different from the last one we did? They give us an equation. Does it look exactly like the equations that we were doing before? Not yet. But we already know this is an ellipse because it says sketch the ellipse. So you don't have to worry that it's a circle or anything like that. But first thing you should remember is, what should an ellipse, if it's an equation of an ellipse, what should it be equal to? 1. Is this equal to 1? What would I have to divide everything by to make 36 a 1? Okay, so I'm going to divide 4x squared by 36, y squared by 36, and 36 divided by 36. So when I simplify this, do you guys agree with me? This becomes x squared over 9, right? Plus y squared over 36 equals 1. Okay, we have an equation of an ellipse.
And now we have fractions.
It's okay. Fractions are okay. But think about all the stuff they're going to ask us for. Just think about what we can tell from this. Where is the denominator bigger, x or y?
Y.
That means this is what kind of an ellipse, vertical or horizontal? Vertical, very good, because it's with the y. Okay, good job, guys. What's the center? Hold on, you don't have to do the midpoint because we don't have the foci, right? But you can look at that and tell me what the center is. What is being added to x and y?
Squared.
1.
What number is being added? Nothing. So where's my center, guys?
0.
At 0, 0. Good. All right, you guys can tell me right now what my A term and what my B term is. A,
9.
A is the biggest one always. A is the biggest. That's not A.
Y squared over 36.
Okay. But A is not 36. What is 36? A what? A squared equals 36. So what is A? 6. Good. What is B?
3.
Yes. B squared is 9. So B is 3. Good. How could you guys figure out what C is? What's the formula?
C squared equals
A squared minus B squared. All right, good. So C squared equals 6 squared minus 3 squared. C squared equals 36 minus 9. C squared equals the square root of 27, right? What does C equal then? Break that down. Oh my gosh, guys, come on. 3 root 3. Good. There you go. All right, now I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. It's not on here, but I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. See if you guys are really paying attention. Bella, you there?
Yep, just better get it.
Okay. David said you're going to get it. What is the length, I believe in Pablo, what is the length
Okay.
of the major axis? How long is it from one side of my ellipse to the other?
Oh, Pablo.
All right. Correct?
I knew it, of course.
Wait.
It's 12. The length of the major axis is 12.
Is it because of the A?
Yeah, because how do you find major? Look at your cheat sheet. How do you find A? It's what?
Maybe divided by 2. Oh!
Very good. I'm so I knew it. I knew it.
Okay.
Now here's another one. All right, let's see if you're paying attention. I love this class. See if you're paying attention. What is the focus? What's one of the focuses? Foci.
We have to find.
Look on. Okay, so if I asked you what the center was, you would. What the foci was, you would add 3 root 3 to the center. It happens to be what number? What's the center? What's the center, guys? Come on. The center. 0, 0. So if I added C to my center, it would be 0 plus or minus 3 root 3. But the way that you find the focus is you add whatever C is to the center. It'll tell you, you add it, if it's horizontal, you add it to the X part, so it goes left and right. If it's vertical, you add it up and down. Not terrible, not terrible, not terrible.
And then 12 is what?
All right, next one. Oh, yes, we get to complete the square. This is so much fun. You guys already know how to do this. All right, piece of cake. Piece of cake, piece of cake, piece of cake. What do you notice about this problem? You got what and what?
Excellent.
You got X's and you got Y's. So what do you think the first thing we should do is? We should combine. We should group them together. Good. So I'm going to say, we've done this with circles and with parabolas. I'm going to say I have x squared plus 6x plus my box, remember, because we're going to complete the square, plus, and I'm going to put my y's together. 4y squared minus 8y plus the box equals, what do I do with this 9? I move it to the other side, right? That's the process of completing the square. So this becomes negative 9. Now we're going to handle this in pieces because this is a teensy tiny bit different than completing the square with circles because your A term is not 1 on all of them. We want our A term to be 1 when we're completing the square. It already is with X's. This is super easy. We take our B term, right? 6 divided by 2 gives me what? 3. So in my parenthesis, I have x plus 3 quantity squared. Agreed? And then how do I figure out what goes in the box? You square this and put it right there. So 3 squared is what you do to one side, ladies and gents, you gotta do to the other. Good. Horrible color choice on my part. All right, here is the thing that's a little bit different. What do you guys notice about the Y's? It has what?
There's a 4 on the
There's a 4 in the front. We want that to be a 1. Is there a way I can take something out of the 4 and the 8 and make that 4 in front a 1? I can factor out a 4, right? When I factor out the 4, I'm left with y squared, right? Minus 2y, and then my box. Now here's the thing, guys. Whatever you factor out in front, all you did was move it from inside the parenthesis to outside the parenthesis. It didn't go anywhere. We just moved it. So at some point, we're going to have to account for it. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So I still have my x plus 3 over here. Quantity squared. We already completed the x squared. So now I have plus. Well, if I complete the square here, I have my 4. When I complete the square, I have negative 2 divided by 2 equals what? Negative 1. So that goes in my parenthesis, x minus 1 squared. And then when I square this, what goes in the box? Positive 1. Now, guys, we just created that number 1 over there. What was there before? What was there that we took out and put in front? The 4. So I have to account for this. I have to say 4 times this number. What's 4 times positive 1? 4. So it's on this side. That means I have to put it where? On the other side. Whatever you factor out, do you see how we factored this out? Yes? You need to multiply it by right here because you did not take it out completely of the equation. We just moved it. We moved it to another spot. So what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. That 4 is still there. So on the right-hand side of my equation here, what's negative 9 and a positive 9? 0. And then I have 4. Okay, so we're getting close. We're getting really close. We're writing the equation of an ellipse. We have one more step. What does the equation of an ellipse need to be equal to? What number does it need to be equal to?
1.
1. Is it? No.
Divide by 4.
What do I do, Maddie?
Divide by 4.
I'm going to divide everything by 4. Look how pretty this works out.
And you can even take out the 4.
So I have on top here x plus 3 squared over 4 plus, what happens to my 4s? They cancel out. This becomes a 1. So I have y minus 1 squared over 1 equals what number? 1. Now you guys can tell me a whole bunch of stuff. First of all, vertical or horizontal? Why? Yep, because the 4 is with the x. It's the bigger number. Good. So tell me, are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
What's up?
So for the
How to determine if it's vertical or horizontal? Look at the denominator. Which denominator is bigger, 4 or 1? 4. What letter is with the 4? What axis is x, horizontal or vertical? That's how. That's good though. All right, so now the center. The center is your HK. It's opposite of what it looks like in the formula, remember? So what's the center of this ellipse? What's the center of this ellipse, guys?
Negative 3, 1.
Negative 3, positive 1. Good, Bella. What is my A? A squared is 4. So, David, what is A?
2.
Very good. My B squared is 1. So, what is B? 1. How do I figure out what C is?
Subtract.
C squared equals A squared minus B squared, right? So, A squared, I have 2 squared minus 1 squared. 4 minus 1 is... So C squared is 3, so C equals the square root of 3. Now, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What is the length of the major axis? Not Pablo. What's the length of the major axis?
4.
It is 4. How'd you get that, Bella?
2 times A.
2 times A. Good. Now, the focus. Remind me again what the C value is? No. What is the C value in any one of these equations? It's the distance from where? From the center to the foci. So this is an X, right? This is a horizontal. So in order to tell me, you guys, and if I said to you, well, where are the 2 foci? You would add C to what part of your center? The X or the Y? If this is an X, this is a horizontal ellipse. So your focus would be at -3 plus root 3 and at -3 minus root 3. Since it's a horizontal, you add and subtract the C value from the X part of the center. If it was a vertical, you would add or subtract what? Since this is a horizontal ellipse, horizontal is what axis? X-axis. So think about that. When we're looking at stuff, the center, the focus, it's all along the X-axis. You move left and right. So if I know what my center is, and I know the distance, the C value, I can add and subtract that C value to get to the points on either side of it. If it's a horizontal ellipse, you add and subtract C from the X part of your center. If it was a vertical one, you would add and subtract the C value to the what? The Y. It's just a matter of keeping everything organized. All right, let's go to the next one. Same thing, guys. We're doing the same concept. All right, we know we have to complete the square because this is just a mess. So what's the first thing I should do? Get the what together? Okay, let's get our x's together. 4x squared minus 8x, right? And then I have my box. Plus, my y's are y squared. Sorry, y squared plus 4y plus the box. And then Pablo, what do I do with that 8?
With that 8, you divide by 2.
No. What do I do with this 8? Sorry.
Oh, you move it to the
I move it to the other side. It becomes what?
positive.
Plus 8. Good. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Same thing, guys. Here we go. Here we go. Now, instead of the x or the y like we did last time, look at the x. I start off with a 4. Can I do something with that? Can I move it somewhere else?
You can factor it out.
Okay, I'm going to bring it out in front, and that leaves me with x squared, what? Minus 2x. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that 4 is out in front, I need to keep it out there for a minute. But I'm going to complete the square. Now I can. I have -2 divided by 2. So what is my parenthesis going to look like? 4 times what? What goes inside the parenthesis? X
Would it be, and then
Would it be
minus 1. Good. Square. And then when I square -1, it becomes what? 1. Now, can I just put a 1 on the other side? No, I have to account for this 4. So what's 4 times 1? 4. So I'm going to add it to this side. So I have equals 8, and then I have plus 4. Now I'm going to complete the square with the y's. I keep using the same colors. It's annoying me. What's my b term? 4. 4 divided by 2 is? So my formula says y plus 2 squared. And then when I square 2, that's what goes in the box. What do I get? 4. If I add 4 on one side, then I have to add 4 on the other side, right?
So we're doing 8 plus 4 plus 4.
Yes, ma'am. What do you get? 16. Notice this is the exact same thing we did before, right? I kind of have my ellipse equation going, but it's not exactly perfect because it's not set equal to 1. So what should I do to both sides?
Right, right.
Perfect. So what happens? I have x minus 1 quantity squared over 4 plus y plus 2 quantity squared over 16 equals, what's 16 divided by 16? 1. Good job, guys. Now you can tell me a whole bunch of stuff. Is this a vertical ellipse or a horizontal one? Why? You guys are awesome. It's a vertical ellipse because the denominator here with the y is bigger. So what is my a value? If a squared, remember a goes with the bigger one, so a squared is 16. What's a equal? 4. My b squared is 4, so what does b equal? 2. Good. Now let's find c. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. So I have 4 squared minus 2 squared. So c squared equals 16 minus 4 is 12. So c equals 2 root 3. 2 root 3. Okay. Now I got some hard questions.
Wait, I'm sorry.
What?
So, right,
Question are we answering? You guys are going to get one of these, and it's going to have like 5 lines. It's going to say, what is the standard form of the ellipse, which would be this? Probably have you identify A, B, and C, which would be here. Then these questions. What's the center? What is the center of this ellipse? With the H and the K, guys, come on.
1, -2.
1 comma negative 2. Perfect. Good. Good, good, good. What is the length of the major axis?
8.
16.
I agree that it's 8. It's not a squared, it's what?
Oh, just A.
No.
Do
It's
it.
2 times a. Yep. Okay, I got a tough one for you. It's not really that tough. You guys can do it. Where is the focus? Where are the foci? What kind of an equation, an ellipse did you say this was? Vertical. So what axis is vertical? The y, right? -2. So your focus would be at -2 plus and minus your c value, which is? What's the c value?
2 square root
2 square root 3. Perfect. Good. So this question will have a bunch of lines. That's the way you're going to answer it. Okay, because remember, if you look back at your cheat sheet, the focus is the distance, or the C is the distance between the focus and the center, right? So if my center is at 1, -2, you told me this was a vertical ellipse, right? So this would be my vertical axis.
Oh,
So the center is here at 1, -2. So then my foci is one's going to be above it, one's going to be below it. So you add your C term and you subtract your C from the Y value. If it was a horizontal, you would just do it from the X value.
and then we got the 2/3 from the C, right?
The 2 root 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
Okay, great job.